Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Solutionaries, where we like to showcase and highlight the work that amazing people are doing all around the world in regenerative resources, in health and wellness, and of course about community building. You know, we're at a very transformational time, and more we're trying to help people become aware of some of the solutions and some of the people, the luminaries, and the advocates that are out there and what's available to them as a resource. So I'm happy to be here today as we start to enter spring. We're a few days away from Earth Day, and people are starting to turn their attention towards community, towards the environment, and towards issues that really do matter right now. So we're not here just to talk and have more information, but we're really here to provide you with very tangible solutions and opportunities and avenues for you and your life. So today, it's been just over a year, but we're circling back. I have the opportunity to speak with our next guest, Ardell Broadbent. And we actually met a while back in 2025 at the Earthstock Summit here in Crestone, Colorado. Another event bringing in different organizations and individuals that are doing amazing work around building regenerative communities and helping to kind of connect the web of resources and people. So we talked the other day. I believe she's in Salt Lake City right now, but she's doing amazing work and is really bringing an incredible platform for your benefit. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Ardell Broadbent from Cooperative Living Communities. So welcome to Solutionaries.
Thanks so much, Michael.
And you're in Salt Lake now. Is that where you are?
For a bit. I spend time up here. I'm kind of living on the family farm an hour south of here.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, it's great to see you again. And let's kind of get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know you have the website, and which is kind of a platform that's part of your Cooperative Living Communities project organization. But tell us a little bit about what is Cooperative Living Communities, what's your mission, and a little bit of how you got involved in doing this incredible work.
Yeah, well, how I got involved was to keep it short, I lived for 4 months at an eco-village in British Columbia. And for 11 months prior to that, I had been volunteering with the eco-village, just kind of building a relationship. And it was actually during the spring in 2020, so right when COVID was getting into full swing. And it was a magical time to be there because while other people were just isolated, alone in their homes, we had such a rich sense of community and, people to hug. And it was, I had my daughter was a teenager at the time and learned so much from it and had great role models to spend time with. And that just kind of was a deep dive into intentional community and all that it has to offer. What I recognized at that point was that there's so much interest in this movement, but it's still in the kind of early adopters phase. And so still, even though there are thousands of people interested, they're dispersed throughout the population and not really having a great way to find each other. I'm a co-moderator on one of the Facebook pages for intentional communities. And and while that's a really great resource, it's also still kind of like a needle in a haystack approach of trying to find co-founders and community seekers. Now, I want to give props to the Foundation for Intentional Communities. They have been, for over 3 decades, the definite leader in the intentional communities movement. They have a mapped directory of co-housing and eco-villages worldwide. However, what they haven't had, but are are in the process of developing is profiles for community seekers. And once they get that up and running, like that's going to be amazing for those who aren't up to kind of co-creating a new community. And I will pivot to even more of a focus on only the co-founders and helping them match up. So the resource that I created, do you want me to screen share that?
before we go there, and we do want to look at the website and learn more about it. So, you had mentioned that organization, and of course, they were well ahead of the curve. And
Yeah.
intentional communities is not a new idea. There's many communities that exist around the world, some for thousands of years, in villages and indigenous communities and these types of things. But I think what's interesting and what's innovative that you're doing, and even more relevant than ever, is as the old paradigm collapses and we're faced with things like, divisiveness, and where everything becomes political, and also the reality of things like COVID, where people are being isolated and cut off, that more and more people are realizing the important value of connection, of just that ancient, essential need for people to be connected and to share and to learn from each other, whether it's growing food, whether it's a spiritual or religious community, whatever it is, whatever that mission is, that this has really been, it's not a new idea. But again, as we're talking about more and more, I mean, even right now, I'm talking to people because the cost of living and the cost of gas and all these things, they're becoming much more active and looking around their own neighborhood about, well, what can I do for food security? What can I do for alternative education models? How can we actually bring that unity back into the word community as the world is changing so fast? So I want to commend you on, your visionary leadership. I mean, you were obviously walking your talk when you had that experience, and now you've created this incredible resource where, again, it helps to identify your profile and some possible matches and stuff. But again, I want to say sometimes people think intentional community, and they think it's something like some countercultural concept. But more and more, we're realizing it's existed for a long time, and more people are looking for engagement and looking for people who are mission aligned and lifestyle aligned. So it's really an amazing resource. So yeah, let's look at the website, and you can give us a little tour of your platform and what you're doing. And I will say, when I met you, I actually went on there and put my profile in. At that time, I wasn't directly looking for intentional community, but the idea of potentially starting one and just kind of seeing other people who are out there and getting to really experience the work you've done. And it's really incredible. So yeah, start us off. What are we seeing here?
Okay, so this is the homepage, and it's kind of more of just an introduction to the concept of intentional community. So I'll move on from that because probably your viewers are.
Can you read what is intentional community, just for those who might be seeing this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's a voluntary sharing of space, such as community buildings near residences, maybe connected land parcels, or just sharing actually a home or apartment. So it also involves a high level of social cohesion, teamwork, or planned social involvement, which makes it more than just being housemates or roommates. There's also an agreement about core values, governance style, or a shared purpose. And that still leaves a whole lot of room for a variety of styles of community, which here in this
And quick question, would that
yeah.
also include like co-housing situations or?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
So here on the community types page, there are like 28 of them, and I've kind of got these subcategories here, but yeah, co-housing is a definite, really popular variety of intentional community because it still allows people their private space, especially families tend to want to have their private space, if they,
Right.
and, um, but I want to highlight one important, um,
Well, I love these categories too. I don't know if before we go off the page later, maybe we could review that because I think this
sure,
is a great way. I mean, there's a lot of research and awareness that takes like someone approaching the idea like, well, what are the different options for me?
right. Well, I think like a very easy way to get started would be the multi-house collective. That's a form of community where it's not just like the thing that separates it from just being a collection of friends and family that get along and share resources is that they actually have a formal membership process and a governance process. Um, and so you can actually lose your membership privileges if you're not holding up your end of agreements. Um, and I actually know people who operate in this type of community, but they reside in their own family homes within the metropolitan area where they're close enough to be of practical help to each other and their kids spend time in each other's houses, but they still have their own domain and their privacy.
Right. Now, is some of this too, maybe if people live in a city, like you're saying, in separate homes, is there ways that they can actually build bridges and have community even though they're
Yeah. Yeah, let
separated
me
from?
let me dive into this to this page, and there are a lot of suggestions on how people might get started with this type of community. There are, let's see, so it's similar to the concept of resilience circles, which was a movement where people would do backyard gardening together, just making that kind of self-sufficiency become a more communal project. These are all, and time shares and time banking. These are all ways that people could kind of add in to their community projects.
I've actually heard a lot of people now talking about agro hoods, like neighborhoods that share, cultivating one of the properties to be able to have like some food supplement or healthier food or even like a little more food security. Kind of going back to the whole when we talked about victory gardens back in the day
Yeah,
during the war. Everyone should have a victory garden and grow your own food. And it's interesting how much it's changed. I know when I grew up in our backyard, we had a garden and I grew up in an Italian family, so we always had tomatoes and different things. And it's interesting how much of our culture here in the States has really converted to convenience and has converted more to like efficiency. And it's easier just to, run down to the farmer's market or the co-op. But again, I think because of some of the economic challenges and things that are happening right now, more and more people are becoming more or thinking about becoming more self-sustainable.
definitely. There's a huge interest in that right now. Um, as I mentioned, I'm a co-moderator on a Facebook page, and it has over doubled to now 127,000 members, and just people are joining daily and just trying to connect with others. I think that people are feeling so isolated, especially with as you mentioned, political polarization. And with you know, churches used to be a place where people really convened, and that's much less so currently. And so people are looking for another way to find community and just connect with solid people who are going to have each other's back.
Absolutely. And I don't know if we can go back. Can you go through maybe an index of some of the different types of communities you were talking about? I think that's really
Definitely.
interesting for people who don't know.
Sure. Um, so starting out with Most people aren't that interested in intentional communities as a movement. They're looking for something that is going to meet a need for their own life. And sometimes that's affordable housing. There are income sharing communities. Um, a notable one to check out is the Twin Oaks community in Virginia. Um, they have a shared business, and then from the business income, they meet their individual needs and get some amount of individual spending money. So kind of like a family arrangement in a way.
Yeah, when we were in Arizona, I used to have a 40-acre community there, and we did natural building and permaculture and programs with the Hopi and the Navajo, the Dene people, and but yeah, we did have some cottage industries that we ran off the community because sometimes it's hard to if you're especially if you're more urban, how do you travel every day 45 minutes into excuse me, in a rural area, it's a long travel to kind of get into an urban hub where there's more economic development and job opportunities. So yeah, cottage industries was always a great supplement.
Sure. Even if they're just friends that have their separate jobs, but just kind of back each other up and have a bit of a common resource pool, that can work too. A lot of people are looking for just a smaller footprint um, of and kind of resource sharing and finding land. It's kind of tricky because there are, city regulations that, and with counties, and the zoning requirements can be such a headache. But for some that are able to kind of get past those hurdles, they can they can set up to where they can have a smaller and more affordable home, and neighbors that are doing the same.
Well, it's
Student house.
interesting since
Yep.
you say that. I just visited. You wouldn't think about that it would exist, but I just visited the LA Eco Village in downtown Los Angeles, and I got to meet some of the people there and the amazing work they're doing. They're expanding, they're converting parking lots into gardens, they're creating more affordable housing. They're doing educational programs. So, yeah, you can find these eco villages really in the most unusual or unexpected places, and in deserts and forests and in the middle of the city, and all sorts of both urban and rural areas. I mean, this really is a movement. It's not a countercultural idea anymore. And I think, again, more and more people are realizing the importance of the work you're doing and the idea of intentional communities.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden, but once you start looking, you'll find something close to you. So student house shares have been, you know, just kind of a standard thing. So I won't go into that, but a lot of people are looking for something where they can do kind of a work trade for rent. And so joining a household as a trial run is what this option is about. And then some people are looking for intentional community because it's more of like a cultural experience for they want to raise their children in a specific way, and they want to find others who share their values, and so they're looking for sharing with like-minded families. There's and some people are just looking for like maybe that one other life partner, but they're wanting to find someone who also is interested in community. So this is an option. People are welcome to use this platform for just, it kind of operates like one of those the pre-swiping type of matchmaking website. And the single parents shared house is such a great idea that there's this term that they've come up with, a mommune, where, think of the advantages of like two single moms that instead of each of them renting a one-bedroom apartment, it's more affordable to together rent a two-bedroom apartment. Then they have some separate space, but they also can be a backup for each other. And, a lot of moms that find that they, in that situation, they can't really make ends meet without, like, sometimes they'll have boyfriends coming and going, and that's hard on the kids. Um,
What
and
a great word, a commune.
yeah,
It makes me also think of the saying, it takes a village.
yeah,
And that's, again, more and more people are realizing the importance of community and collaboration. And
definitely. Thanks for keeping me going because I can really uh, get off on a tangent here. So some, especially young adults, often are just trying to, see what's out there and meet a lot of people. And so these this set of communities is about, nomadic and maybe just temporarily renting an apartment together or exploring different places in the world and using intentional communities as a jumping off point for
what,
that.
what a classic photo. I think that might be my Volkswagen bus back in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we traveled for years. Just again, we got to visit a lot of different spiritual centers and see different communities and places. And I think we were able to see probably half of the country, 20, 25 different states, which, it's good to have a well-rounded perspective of the world. Sometimes we remain in our silo and we kind of lose a bigger perspective. So,
Yeah. There's a organization that specializes in helping mobile home parks to to buy out the owners when they're ready to sell so that they can collectively own as a business their own spot of land, and then they pay rent to basically themselves. They pay rent to the organization that they help to manage, which keeps it more affordable.
I would love that contact at some point because I'm working with people in the Pacific Palisades where the
Great.
whole RV park and community burned down of 100 members, and now it's like they want to move back, but the owner's thinking of selling, and they don't know that there's actually maybe support or information or a formula. So we'll circle back at some near future date, but that's again more useful information. Thank you.
Definitely. And each of these pages has a resources section, and that organization is in here in the resources section. So some people are more looking for intentional community as a way to find people like them and just to share their lives with people who have similar values. And so you've got a lot of spiritual communities that operate that way. And there are the benefit of the ICMatch platform is it's about forming the group and then together finding your residents. If you're trying to do it the opposite way, then you run into problems with fair housing law. Like you can't just post on, a public forum like, "Hey, I'm trying to make a Black only community because we've got these shared struggles and we just want to make, or we're a bunch of Latinos and we want to speak our language and we want to eat our food and play our banda too loud and make jokes about gringos." And so, like, do that, but you can't advertise, like a racial preference. But you can find your people first, and then make your space.
All right.
So here's okay. A lot of people are more into like the self-sufficiency as a movement and just kind of recognizing the fragility of our supply chains and wanting to have a backup. And so this whole section is about that. There's a lot of people that want something totally off grid.
Right.
And some people just want to say, like, instead of having your like one bug out pad, why not have that be something that's shared with others? It reminds me of, so during the year 2000, when there was like just a devastating economic collapse in Argentina, there's a blogger, Furfall, who wrote about and continues to write about that experience. And he said, the farmers isolated in the countryside, they were just victims to marauding gangs. And I think people don't kind of recognize that you need community to really have a sense of security. And that's kind of what that part is about. I won't go
Right.
on
Amazing.
about it. And so then, the care and social safety net is a super important uh, movement. Like, we all wish that there was more more resources for the people who are really hurting. And that can be, when you're trying to get that through government sources, it can be such a headache and so inadequate that I would love to see kind of like charter schools get government funding as long as they're staying on top of their, really serving the people. I would love to see charter social safety net in the form of intentional communities that serve vulnerable populations. And to some extent, you can get grant funding for that, but it's such a chore and it's so uncertain.
And what's really interesting too, Ardell, is I did a project and a program years ago about, like, in our society we tend to put kids in preschool or daycare because the parents have to work, and then we tend to put our grandparents and elders in nursing homes. So, typically in most societies, the elders interacted with the youth, and there was a passing on of wisdom, and of course, there's some part of the system that makes sense, but kind of this whole ultra commodification of care and community, and like, okay, I can't take care of my parents, I'm just going to throw them in a nursing home because they can't be independent anymore. Or, again, the same thing with kids. We've kind of lost a lot of that intergenerational connectivity too. And also, like you said, just being in a caring and kind and safe social environment. So very, very, very interesting.
Definitely. So moving on to this last section.
Work. I thought community was all fun and games and kumbaya. What? Work?
Well, I guess some people, if you're a trust fund baby, you can create your own community that's only about the snowboarding or whatever you're into.
Yeah.
But yeah, for most of us, we have to figure out a way to work together and find fair ways of allocating resources and tracking our hours and our contribution. And that's just it's kind of a lost skill in our current society. Where we tend to rely on top down leadership, authoritarian kinds of institutions where the boss and the managers will just make those decisions for you. But it's time consuming, but it's also really rewarding when you get to be part of making those decisions for how your life and your work is run. So back here to like the idea of cottage industries, a lot of intentional communities have kind of they'll have like a gorgeous natural setting, and it allows them to have this high quality of lifestyle, even though they are a work team to serve visitors coming in. And so on the one hand, they might look like, oh, well, you're the paid staff. Yeah, but I've been to these places and I'm envious of them. I'm like, yeah, you're cooking and cleaning and serving us, but we're kind of wishing we could live here.
Yeah, you're not out at the Amazon factory throwing millions of boxes on a conveyor belt every
Exactly.
day for a living, and that's part of again integrating the idea of making a living, right livelihood, and commerce as part of a healthy lifestyle. And like you were saying, there's ways. I know some people they do time banking, and there's ways to kind of track what I call energy equity or reciprocity because unfortunately there tends to sometimes seem to be even levels of entitlement where everyone kind of thinks everyone owes them everything and like why do I have to work or this or that. So that's a whole loaded subject we won't get into, but again I really appreciate that you're kind of bringing that to light and also showing some of the different models that are here. So in the few minutes that we have left, is there something else you'd like to show on the website, and then we can have you come back on camera and we can share a little more information?
Yeah, sure. So there's one of the pages is all about the groups that are trying to form, um, and just has a small bit about their vision of the community that they're trying to form. Um, Now, once people actually have their definite location, um, I urge them to set up a profile at the website for the Foundation of Intentional Communities where they'll be mapped, and can be found that way. It's international. Yeah. And so these pages will also show the individual profiles of the founders team, so you can get a sense of who are the personalities there. Um, and so let's see, we've got to get the okay. So on the Match for Free page, you've got the profiles of individuals, and if you kind of click into them, you've got various categories. Mm, It's being slow right now. Um, there's also a list of consultants of a variety of types so that you can find help and you don't have to start from scratch. You can use best practices that other people have already refined. Um,
Yeah, and the term that comes to mind when you say that is mediation, because a lot of people
oh,
realize
yeah,
a lot of the work in community is the interpersonal work. So people should, be prepared to evolve and grow and kind of stretch to new heights potentially.
definitely. And in the footer, let's see, so here's where the profiles can get, have all of these different categories. But to get started, you only have to answer like 28 questions, and that'll start matching you with other people. Um, and then in the footer, there's just a whole lot of links to resources for founders groups.
Fantastic. Well, let's do this. Let's have you come back on camera. We have a few minutes left. And so what is the address of the actual website that people can find it?
Well, it's IC, standing for intentional community. So ICMatch.org will get you to this website. It's part of a larger project that is Cooperative Living Communities. And I'm more focused at this point on trying to help founders of regenerative agriculture, combined with affordable housing.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. I know regenerative land development is a huge thing right now, and I'm connected with some people in Ecuador. They have 350 acres, and then some folks in Costa Rica. And of course, I've been working on a project in Colorado, and I'm also doing our next Earthstock Regenerative Summit in Ojai at the end of May. So fantastic. So any last thoughts before we complete our podcast here today?
You know, on the bigger picture, there is just an evolution. And there there are people who politically see that like they'll say like the system is rigged, this is just, a disaster. And some people think that, they really want to try some kind of communism again. But in my view, historically, that has not gone well. And I more want to promote communalism. It's like a grassroots kind of community and resource sharing rather than trying to you know we're not going to get a good outcome from trying to make one a big government be meeting people's needs. It's up to us.
Yeah, you're preaching the gospel right there because people do need to roll up our sleeves. I know a lot of people involved in like private membership groups, also land patents, creating sovereignty groups about taking radical self-responsibility. I think we've all learned recently it's not like the government's going to ride in on a white horse and do all the work for us. That really, we're in the age of what I call regenerative radical self-responsibility. So words of wisdom. Thank you so much for your time. And again, it's icmatch.org.
Yes, as well as cooperative living communities.org will get you to more where the regenerative agriculture focus is and specific models for that.
And if people want to get more information, is there an email or can people contact you? How does that work?
Yeah, at both websites there will be emails.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a great spring up there in the Salt Lake area, and congratulations on your amazing, groundbreaking, community building, regenerative work. Kind of really building a new paradigm, and that's what excites me. There is a lot of wisdom in the ways things have been done, but we have to constantly innovate. And this is really kind of a whole new twist and paradigm of thinking and community and lifestyle and stuff. So.
Yeah, you're right. Can I leave your viewers with a last invitation? If you've got skills to share and knowledge and experience around intentional community topics, you are welcome to join the free listing of consultants, and it's no cost, no strings. Money doesn't come through. It's just, people will see your email, they'll contact you and deal with you directly. Thanks so
Amazing.
much, Michael.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll be in touch, and I do want to talk to you about the that situation in LA and the Palisades about people would like to probably purchase their land and still continue to live there. So,
Okay,
all right, have a great rest of your week and spring, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
you too. Bye.